Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's annual North Reading Veterans Day ceremonies. We do have chairs here for people that would like to sit. Please feel free to come up and hop a squat. I'd like to recognize our guests that are here in the front with me. I have Command Chief Master Sergeant Michelle O'Keefe, who's our honored guest speaker, to my right. Town Administrator Michael Gilberto. Reverend Rachel Fisher. And our singer Karen Mullen. Behind me I have the Patriot Guard Riders. North Reading High School Band, Minute Militia, the 272nd Chemical Company out of Camp Curtis Guild Reading. I have our Boy Scouts over here and Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts. Leanne Gonzalez of the Select Board. And our North Reading Police Department Honor Guard. Our Veterans Day Events Committee that is all back there, and our Memorial Committee that are back there. Post 10874, Commander Arthur Cole. And my members that are over there, I've got Gordon Hall, John Watson, Rich Stratton, Jim McLaughlin, Lyman Fancy, Joe Vino, Al DeSalvo, Ken Ravioli. Please give them all a warm welcome. Each year on the 11th day, the 11th month, the 11th day of the 11th hour, we gather in honor of the men and women who have chosen the path to defend the borders of these United States. This is a historic day and time of remembrance for those valorous Americans who continue to serve today, and for those who have served with courage and conviction throughout the generations. Today we hold special honors to our World War II veterans, our World War I veterans, our Vietnam veterans, our Korean War veterans, our Gulf War veterans, our Iraq and Afghan veterans. Thank you all for your sacrifice and your service. We also commemorate the 101st anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I on the 11th month of the 11th day on the 11th hour in 1918. Today the nation comes together as one at 11 a.m. and that's why we toll the bells at 21 times in remembrance of those brave men and women who gave their lives. Remember to take time and reflect on the bravery and sacrifices our veterans have made, and continue to pray for our warriors and those who continue to suffer from the physical and mental wounds of war. At this time, I would like to call Reverend Rachel Fisher of the Aldersgate Church to deliver the invocation.
Let us pray. God, we ask that you would look with us on favor at this hour, in this time, in this place, as we seek to remember the very best characteristics which you bestow upon us, those of bravery and service, humanity, civility, grace, strength, courage, and bravery. God, please allow us to take these lessons, these visuals, the things that we hear, and take them with us from here to help remind us of who we are, God. Help us to be filled with gratitude. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please be seated. We will now hear from the North Reading High School Band, which will present us with The Washington Post by John Philip Sousa, under the direction of Drum Major Chris Nearing and Assistant Drum Major Kevin Chang. Please rise for the presentation of our colors and render a salute or hand over your heart while the North Reading Police Honor Guard presents our nation's colors, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and our national anthem to be sung by Karen Mullen.
Make way for the colors. Detail. Forward. Hard. Present. Arms.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free
you could all remain standing as the North Reading Honor Guard retires our colors.
Detail. Forward. March. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. March.
Thank you. Please be seated. At this time, we would like to read out the proclamation. So for the governor's proclamation, I would like to call up Town Administrator Michael Gilberto to read the governor's proclamation for us.
Good morning. Governor's Proclamation. Whereas, since the Commonwealth's colonial days, thousands of men and women have served our country in defense of freedom and liberty. And whereas, on November 11th, 1918, the armistice was signed in the Forest of Company by the Allied nations and Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars after 4 years of conflict. And whereas, since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans. And whereas, there are approximately 388,000 veterans living in Massachusetts. And whereas, today, we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions our veterans have made to our country. And whereas, we honor and salute those who served our country throughout the generations with honor, patriotism, and courage. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who served their country so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. And whereas in November 2019, the world will commemorate the 101st anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 o'clock a.m., November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Now therefore I, Charles Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2019 to be Veterans Day, and urge all the citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Chamber in Boston this 11th day of November in the year 2019 and of the independence of the United States of America, the 243rd, by His Excellency Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth, Karen E. Polito, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth, and William Francis Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you. I would now like to call up Select Board Member Leanne Gonzalez, who will read North Reading's Veterans Day Proclamation.
Good morning, everybody. Town of North Reading Veterans Day 2019 Proclamation. Whereas, on Veterans Day, America becomes one in honoring our veterans to commemorate their legacy of honor, pride, courage, and sacrifice. America is strong because of their profound love of this great nation. We as a nation must support our veterans, for we would not be in America if not for their sacrifices. And whereas, on this day, we honor our warriors for continuing to secure and safeguard our borders, emulating our forefathers by carrying on the values and traditions that were instilled through the generations. They continue to serve in harm's way. Keep them in prayer. And whereas, on this day, we must be ever mindful of our veterans struggling with mental health issues, addictions, and homelessness. We as a compassionate nation must be proactive and work together to assist and guide them. And whereas on this day we recognize and thank our Vietnam veterans for their service and sacrifice. Your wounds and scars continue to consume your lives. Many continue to suffer the effects of Agent Orange. Many lives have been shortened. Many families have to endure the pain of losing a loved one, suffering the after effects of war. We will continue to stand by you. And whereas on this day, we honor our Gold Star families who have sacrificed the ultimate. Keep them in your prayers. They will forever carry the legacy of their loved one through memories. For those who have loved ones missing in action or are held captive, continue to pray for their return. And whereas on this day, we renew our commitment to our children through guidance and education, the importance of honor, respect, and appreciation for the valor and sacrifice our veterans and warriors have made. Continue to educate them on the history of this great nation. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of North Reading, do hereby proclaim that Veterans Day shall be celebrated on this 11th day of November, 2019, in the town of North Reading. We encourage you to continue to display the American flag with pride on your homes, offices, and town buildings to recognize the valor and sacrifices of our veterans and warriors through ceremony and prayer. Given at the Select Board meeting this 28th day of October 2019 by Select Board Chair Catherine Manupelli.
At this time, we would like to hear from the North Reading High School Band, who will perform the Military Escort by Harold Bennett, under the direction again of Drum Major Chris Nearing and Assistant Drum Major Kevin Chang. Next, I'd like to call Rich Stratton, who is going to recite What the Flag Means to Me, the 2019 essay winner, Caitlin Shevlin, of the North Reading Town Republican Committee Scholarship. Rich?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome. Thanks for coming, all you veterans and all the Gold Star families and all the people who are here supporting the veterans. I am a combat veteran of Vietnam, and today I'm dressed as a colonial Minuteman, representing the early colonial soldiers and Minutemen that went to defend our freedom in the Revolutionary War. Today I'm honored to read an essay that was written by Caitlin Shevlin. She is a former North Reading High School student who is currently a student at the University of Connecticut. She was unable to be here today because she's in class. So I have the honor of reading that essay. Every morning, for 3 months during the first quarter of my senior year at high school, I would go to the principal's office and get on the loudspeaker at school to recite the Pledge of Allegiance for the whole school to follow. This was part of my duty as a class officer, and it made me nervous to know the whole school would hear my voice. We saluted the flag every morning, but to be honest, I don't think that many students really thought about what it meant. That's a shame, because the American flag means many different things to Americans, even if they were not always aware of it. For me, the American flag represents three things. The first is the pursuit of happiness and opportunities for all. I'm fortunate to have the ability to choose a path and chase it to success or failure. If the road leads to failure, I can try again. The opportunities provided are endless, as I was provided an education that opened me up to my society and the world we live in. The options I choose provide me happiness and fulfillment. The flag also represents unity. The stars represent the 50 states. Each state varies greatly, yet all work together. The unity is important, and the relationships we build with others complete our own lives. We as citizens of this nation understand that the doors stand open for us, while those in other countries cannot say the same. On a local and global level, unity and working together is essential for peace and to accomplish goals. All people differ greatly, yet those differences are what make our country so great. Lastly, the American flag represents a responsibility for us to strive to be productive members of society, always trying to better ourselves and the role we play in our jobs, society, family, and impact we leave behind. In a country which provides us with freedom and opportunity, we must grasp what we can. The world is facing problems every day, and we as Americans can try to help combat them. The flag is pieced together, stripe by stripe, and star by star, and those building blocks each serve a different purpose to contribute to the whole. As a country, we are pieced together as well, with our different cultures and types of people. We embrace difference and encourage people to try new things. I know I have endless possibilities to try new things and meet new people who can teach me something I never knew before. We touch our hearts when we say the pledge, and this creates a connection to our lives and our country. The flag symbolizes pride and honor. Men and women go out every day in the armed forces to fight for this country because it is special. While we salute the flag, we are also saluting our right to free speech, free exercise, freedom of equality, and our rights to be treated fairly, and so much more. In closing, I'm proud to have led the Pledge of Allegiance for my school, and I'm proud to be a citizen of the United States. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Rich. At this time, I would like to introduce our honored guest speaker. It is actually an extreme pleasure for me to present State Command Chief Master Sergeant Michelle O'Keefe of the Mass Air National Guard. Chief Master Sergeant Michelle O'Keefe is the command chief for the Mass Air National Guard located at Hanscom Air Force Base, Massachusetts. She is responsible for the management of 2,000 airmen throughout the state that are geographically separated at 2 wings and 1 headquarters. And might I add, she is the first woman to ever take over as Command Chief Master Sergeant of the Mass Air National Guard. Chief O'Keefe originally joined the Mass Air National Guard in April of '92. Her first assignment was with the 102nd Fighter Wing, where she served as a personnel specialist during her 11 years with the as a personnel specialist. During her 11 years with the 102nd, Chief O'Keefe held a myriad of roles to include an assistant retention manager, non-commissioned officer in charge, NCOIC of personnel relocations, personnel readiness, and of personnel support for contingency, and operations PERSCO. In 2002, Chief O'Keefe deployed to Camp Justice Oman in direct support of Operation Enduring Freedom as a personnel superintendent for the second largest base in the area responsibility. Under her leadership, she led her PERSCO team to be recognized as #1 of 17 deployed locations. In 2003, Chief O'Keefe began serving at the Mass Air National Guard headquarters, where she currently serves today. Her education has an impressive and extensive background and training to include her leadership school, non-commissioned officer academy, diversity training, senior NCO academy, leadership challenge program, national security course, leadership in homeland security, strategic planning course, first sergeant symposium, to name a few. Chief O'Keefe's major awards and decorations include Meritorious Service Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, Air Force Commendation Medal, Air Force Achievement Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, Air Force Outstanding Unit Award with oak leaf cluster, and an Air Reserve Forces Meritorious Service Medal with 3 oak leaf clusters, National Defense Service Medal with Service Star, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and many more. Chief O'Keefe lives in North Reading here with her husband Paul and their 2 children, Daniel and Emma Kiley, both age 14. Chief O'Keefe's father, Michael Curran, is a Vietnam veteran himself who served with the 119th Assault Helicopter Company. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Command Chief Master Sergeant Michelle O'Keefe.
Thank you, Susan. My fellow Americans, in every generation, you or someone you know has answered the call to serve in our armed forces. Their service and patriotism are definitive examples of their character. When they speak of the United States of America and what this country means to them, they stand tall and their eyes turn misty in remembrance of their brothers and sisters in arms whom they call family. The individuals we honor today are United States veterans. While the front lines have changed from the jungles of Vietnam to the deserts of the Middle East and evolved with digital and political fashions, the National Guard has remained steady and ready and always there. The sacrifices of our National Guard represents the foundation of our country, from the original Minuteman to our modern warriors who will give lives to protect life, liberty, and property. In the words of President John F. Kennedy, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter the words, but to live by them. Members of the Air and Army National Guard may be your neighbors, your teachers, your public servants, employees, supervisors, or business owners. But the moment they don the uniform, they are airmen and soldiers who defend our homeland and respond at a moment's notice. I'd like to share a story about a fellow airman, Senior Master Sergeant Stephen Jeffers, a Security Forces Superintendent at the 104th Fighter Wing. He was recently awarded the Bronze Star Medal for his meritorious achievement as Superintendent, 451st Expeditionary Support Squadron, 451st Expeditionary Group, 455th Air Expeditionary Wing. While engaged in action against an enemy of the United States at Kandahar Airfield, Afghanistan. While deployed in support of Operation Freedom Sentinel and Resolute Support Mission, Senior Master Sergeant Jeffers was exposed to hostile action during 9 separate indirect fire attacks. He directed services, personnel, logistics, civil engineering, communications, and integrated defense in the largest support squadron in the Air Force's Central Command area of responsibility. He led 765 personnel across 14 specialties, supporting combat operations for 6 task forces, 9 squadrons, enabling 7,000 sorties, 1,300 strikes, and the elimination of 700 combatants. As a force protection expert, he directly influenced airfield security and integrated defense by overseeing and enabling 51 force actions and guiding 2 unexploded ordnance sweeps, ensuring the rapid return of airfield operations and the protection of $3 billion of aircraft and 1,600 airmen, and led the derailment of 85 enemy attacks and the removal of 26 Taliban fighters from the battlefield. Off the battlefield, Steve is a loving son, husband, and father from Westfield, Massachusetts. Now, not every veteran performs great acts like Senior Master Sergeant Jeffers, but every veteran is truly a hero in their own right simply because they serve. There is nothing stronger than the heart of a volunteer, said General James H. Doolittle. Members of the National Guard are the strongest of hearts, and their service to their country and state is a debt we will forever pay. Every veteran deserves the support of friends, families, employers, and communities. Without your support, they could not do what they do. And for that, we are all extremely grateful for your service to our veterans. Thank you to all veterans on this day of celebration, and thank you to all who support us unconditionally. We wish you a peaceful and prosperous Veterans Day and continued health, joy, and happiness throughout the holidays. Thank you.
Thanks you, Chief O'Keefe. I just wanted to tag a little onto that. When they say you don't know, it could be your neighbor, somebody you work with that's a veteran. Ironically, yesterday I was getting my nails done, took an hour for myself over the weekend, and I somehow just started chatting. I don't know how we got on the subject, but the lady next to me, who was actually Vietnamese descent, her parents, she was born here, but her parents were from Vietnam. And you could tell she had a thick accent. Would you think that she served in the military? No. So it turns out she served almost 6 years in the Air Force. She's a Purple Heart recipient. She was shot actually just by her heart, and luckily made it home and spent a year, I guess, over in Washington at the hospital. So you just don't know, and I was trying to figure out why her accent was still so thick, because she grew up here, but her husband is also of Vietnam descent, and he's 24 years in the Navy, and works for the government now. He's a contractor working in the government, and her father actually when he came over here, signed up to go into our military. So it's amazing. You just don't know who you're meeting. Could be, like I said, anybody walking into a nail salon, I know us women would say, couldn't picture anybody of being in the military. So again, you never know. And the ironic thing to all this, when I was talking to her as being the VSO and always questioning, I asked her right off the bat if she was getting her disability. And she was actually told that she couldn't get a disability compensation for it. So, and she suffers residuals, so You know, it's amazing. You know, that's why we're here in our job, to make sure we educate, because even the federal end told her no. So, again, Michelle, thank you. Appreciate it. At this time, to get to my back pages, I'm sorry. At this time, we're going to be placing the wreaths, so if you could all please stand for the placing of the wreaths by the Minute Militia, followed by a moment of silence. If you can hand salute or your hand over your heart, and that'll be followed by taps and the firing of the volley. Before we conclude today's ceremonies, on behalf of the North Reading Veterans Department, Veterans Memorial Committee, and the Veterans Events Committee, we would like to thank you for taking time out of your schedules today and joining us here. Thank God we had a beautiful day. I know it's cloudy, but it's not cold. We can handle this. This is good fall weather. I'd like to God bless our veterans and our warriors. Again, thank you all for your service and your sacrifice. And at this time, I would like to call up Reverend Fisher again to give the benediction.
Let us pray. God, this time has been a gift to us. To be able to assemble like this, to have such a great amount of pride in our nation and the individuals who make up this country. That's a gift from you. Help us to be mindful that not all have this. God, I ask that you would send us forth from this place in gratitude, stronger, standing taller, and so proud and thankful for our veterans. I pray this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join us in singing God Bless America, performed by the North Reading High School Band. I would like to ask if there's any other veterans out there that did not receive any cards, because I have cards here that were kindly given and worked hard by young students from the schools here, and they'd like to make sure everybody gets one. The remainder I'll send over to the Bedford VA. This concludes today's ceremony. I thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for my participants and everybody that could make it here today, in helping make this an honorable tribute to all who have served and all who continue to serve this great nation. Please join us in the Senior Center for coffee, water, apple cider, courtesy of Ryers and Heavenly Donuts. We also have donut holes. I have to make sure I don't say munchkins. I gotta stop and think about that one. So we get donut holes, cornbread from the Horseshoe, as well as his bite-sized bread pudding bites. They're yummy. So thank you all again, and we'll see you all again next year. Thanks.